Hello there. How are my little masters and little misses? I have missed you. I hope you were waiting for me too. I'm sure you were. So here I am with another story, and the name of the story is, maybe you can read with me, The Little Dutch Boy. Have you heard this before? And it's a tale of perseverance. Do you know what perseverance is? Perseverance means to keep doing something, never lose hope, keep at it, no matter how many times you lose, no matter how hard it is, no matter how many hurdles are there, you keep at it and then you succeed. You I promise you that. Okay, now we start from here. The Little Dutch Boy, and it has been adapted by Sarah Toast. It begins like this, like old stories. Long ago, there was a boy named Hans who lived with his mother in a pretty town in Holland. The land of Holland is very flat, and much of it is below the level of the sea. The farmers there built big walls called dikes. So, what are the big walls called? Dikes, to keep the sea from flooding their farms, right? Hans and the other children knew that if a dike broke, the fields and towns would be ruined. One day, Hans' mother packed a basket of fruit, bread, and cheese for Hans to take it to their old friend, Mr. Man Norton. Very Dutch name, isn't it? And what a dear, kind lady she was. Mr. Van Norton lived outside of town, and it was a long way to his house. Just like the boy had to travel to see the north wind. Do you remember that? As Hans set out, his mother told him not to stay too late. She wanted to be home before dark, like any other mother, right? Okay, so then what happens next? Mr. Van Norton had only an old dog to keep him company, so he was very happy when Hans came to visit him. To get to Mr. Van Norton's home, Hans just followed the main road out of town. The road ran right alongside the dike. And what was the dike? The wall that blocks the seawater from flooding the farms and the crops. And this is the guy, Mr. Van Norton, he has gone to meet. Now, Hans was very thirsty and hungry after his long walk, so Mr. Van Norton made cocoa and set out the bread and cheese, as you saw in the picture. After their meal, the boy and the old man talked by the fire. Hans enjoyed Mr. Van Norton's stories of the olden days, when Mr. Van Norton's dog scratched at the door. Can you hear that? To be let out, Hans noticed that the sky had become dark and stormy. He decided that he should leave right away to get home before it started to rain. Hans said goodbye to Mr. Van Norton and promised to come back soon. Oh, all right. Hans walked quickly, but he was not even halfway home when the air became much colder and the wind began to blow. And the wind do blow. It wasn't long before cold, stinking raindrops battered Hans as he struggled against the powerful wind. The weather made it difficult for Hans to walk, but he kept going. If I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, said Hans to himself, I'll be home soon. The strong wind made the trees low, and it flattened the flowers. Hans was getting cold, and he had to hold his hat on his head to keep it from blowing away. I hope my mother isn't upset when I arrive home so cold and wet. He knew how much his mother cared for him, he thought. Hans was getting more and more tired with every step, but he had to keep going. He remembered that his mother wanted him before dark, and Hans did not want to let her down. He wanted to get home so she would not have to worry. Hans kept his head down against the wind as he trudged along the road. It was so dark outside that Hans had no idea he was nearing the town until he lifted his head. For a moment, Hans was happy to see the dike right in front of him. It meant would soon be home out of the rain, and this was the wall across the town. Even with all the raindrops, pitter patter falling and dripping from the trees, Hans noticed some water where it should not have been. There was a small hole in the dike. There was a small hole in the dike. Oh my God! And a trickle of water was seeping through. Hans knew right away that something must have gone wrong. The storm had whipped the waves of the sea on the other side, and the great weight of the pounding water made a crack in the dike. I've got to warn everybody that the dike has sprung a leak, thought Hans. Hans ran into town. Dike is breaking! Dike is breaking! Help! Help! We've got to fix the dike! Shout as he would, no one heard Hans. Everybody was inside, busily protecting themselves from such a wild tempest. And everything was shut. All the doors were securely tied. Hans realized it was not going to do any good just shouting for help. He stopped to catch his breath, leaning against a fence. He tried to think what he could do next. Hans knew his mother must be worrying, but the hole in the dike was getting bigger and bigger, and more water was coming through, and it would break the dike. All would be lost. The sea would flood the farms and wash away the pretty little town. As fast as he could, Hans ran back to the place where he had seen the water coming through the hole. Sure enough, the crack was bigger now than he had first spotted it. He knew it had to be fixed, otherwise the sea would break through and it would be too late. Okay, and I'll come back to you soon. Ta-ta!